Having her was the biggest mistake of my life. She ruined everything. I wasn't supposed to hear that. One second, I was walking down the basement stairs to grab a fresh stack of Thanksgiving napkins. The next, I was frozen halfway down the steps, my fingers gripping the railing so tightly my knuckles ached. The kitchen light spilled down the stairwell in a warm, gold glow. But none of that warmth reached me. My mother's voice did. It cut clean through the air, sharp and exhausted in a way I had never heard from her before. She wasn't yelling. That almost would have been easier. No, she said it casually, like she was commenting on the weather, like the words didn't weigh anything at all. My aunt had just finished telling her, "You've really built a beautiful life here." I could picture her smiling while she said it. I could picture my mom pretending to smile back. But then came that laugh, bitter, hollow, like something inside her had already crumbled a long time ago. "Honestly," she said, "having her was the biggest mistake of my life. She ruined everything. I could have finished college, traveled, met someone without all that baggage. Every time I look at her, I just see everything I gave up. Her, me, 16-year-old me, honor student, varsity track athlete, grocery store cashier, the girl who never complained, who folded her own laundry and never asked for much because she learned early that asking only made things worse. A mistake, baggage, something she had to endure until she could finally be free." A chair scraped upstairs. My aunt murmured something soft, sympathetic. My mother kept talking, quiet, deliberate, not a hint of regret in her tone. "And now I'm stuck. I can't just kick her out. People would talk. 2 more years and she's legally an adult. Then I'm finally free. 2 more years." The words hit harder than the cold basement air. For a moment, everything inside me went still. Not shattered, still. As if my body knew this was the moment something irreversible had happened. I walked back upstairs after that, smiled, handed out napkins, ate turkey, laughed when everyone else laughed. No one noticed that something inside me had gone silent. But I did. And that night, while the house slept, I made a plan. I was going to leave. Quietly. Completely. And I was never coming back. People assume girls are dramatic, emotional, sensitive. But when you grow up knowing, not guessing, knowing that your existence is an inconvenience, you learn to shut all of that down early. My mother had me at 18. Too young, too overwhelmed, too alone. My father disappeared before I was born, leaving nothing behind except his last name and a silence that got recycled into every excuse my mother ever made for why her life ended up the way it did. It was hard being a single mom. I had to grow up faster than everyone else. "You don't understand what I sacrificed." I heard those lines long before I understood what they meant. Then, when I was 4, she met the man who would become my stepdad. They got married when I was 6. My half-sister was born when I was 7. My half-brother arrived when I was 9. That was the year things really shifted. There's a strange kind of survival skill you develop when you're the before child of a woman trying to rewrite her life. You learn to read her eyes, her sighs, the way she tenses whenever you enter a room she thought she'd have to herself. You learn to measure the temperature of a whole household just by how loudly a cabinet closes. At first, I thought I was imagining things. The way family photos slowly started featuring me less. The way my stepdad talked to me without ever actually meeting my eyes, always a little off to the side, as if looking at me directly was too much effort or too much truth. Birthdays were practical. Socks, notebooks, pens. Meanwhile, my siblings got dolls, remote control cars, shiny things that made them gasp and squeal. I told myself I didn't need any of that I was older, more mature, less fragile. But even practicality can bruise you when it's the only language of love you get. By the time I was 12, I did my own laundry. Not because I was taught, but because I learned early that doing things myself meant fewer reminders that I was extra work. I kept my room spotless, earned perfect grades, ran track after school, and worked weekends at the grocery store because having my own money meant I didn't have to hear, "Do you think money grows on trees?" ever again. Still, I kept trying to fit the version of daughter my mother wanted. The quiet one, the helpful one, the one who blended into the background so she could live the life she pictured before I existed. But every year, something small chipped at me, like the way she forgot my 17th birthday, not because she was busy or overwhelmed, but because my sister had a dance recital that day and she simply prioritized that instead. "Sorry, honey, we'll celebrate later." We never did. Or how she'd say my name only when she needed something. "Can you watch the kids? Can you run to the store? Can you help clean up?" I became useful. but never loved. By 16, I'd perfected the role, the invisible daughter, the girl who didn't complain, didn't ask, didn't expect. Maybe if I stayed quiet enough, small enough, good enough, I could become someone she didn't regret. Then Thanksgiving happened, and any illusion I still clung to shattered. The truth wasn't that she struggled. The truth wasn't that she tried her best. The truth was exactly what she told my aunt in the kitchen. My life was the thing that ruined hers. And from that moment on, everything inside me rearranged itself into one goal: leave, survive, start over somewhere she could never rewrite me again. After Thanksgiving, nothing exploded on the outside. No yelling, no confrontations, no dramatic scenes worthy of a movie. But something inside me had already shifted, and there was no shifting back. I started noticing things I'd previously brushed off. Tiny moments that suddenly felt like puzzle pieces snapping into place. Like how my stepdad never quite faced me when he talked. His eyes always aimed somewhere slightly left of mine, as if direct eye contact might imply acknowledgement he wasn't willing to give. Or how my name never appeared in group text threads, except when logistics were involved. Can she pick up your brother? Tell her to clean the guest room before your aunt arrives. Never how is she, never tell her we're proud of her. Even family photos became a quiet tally of where I actually stood. I stopped getting called into the living room when everyone huddled together for the real picture. Sometimes my mom would hand me the phone to take the photo of them, a perfect little family of 4. Me behind the camera, them framed in matching sweaters, my absence edited into the background. Little details that should have hurt. But after Thanksgiving, they didn't hurt anymore. They simply made sense. I became hyper-aware of how my siblings were treated too. My sister would burst into the kitchen wearing a sparkly dance costume, and my mom's face would light up instantly. Her voice grew warm, excited, proud. When I walked in, her expression softened, only enough to register that I wasn't actively causing trouble. Can you keep the kids entertained? Don't touch that. You're distracting us. It was always about being useful, never about being wanted. The first real seed of conflict, the one that sprouted into my escape plan, was planted the night after Thanksgiving. I lay awake thinking, if I stay, nothing will change. If I leave, everything could. The thought terrified me, and then it steadied me. So I started preparing without telling a soul. At school, I picked up extra shifts anywhere I could. Tutoring, helping clean out equipment closets for the track coach, running errands for teachers who needed reliable hands. At the grocery store, I volunteered for the shifts nobody wanted. Late nights, early mornings, holiday weeks. If I wasn't in class or at practice, I was earning money. I opened a separate bank account at a bank neither my mom nor stepdad ever used. I memorized the PIN twice before writing it down on a slip of paper I later burned in the kitchen sink late at night while everyone slept. Then came the harder part. Documents. My birth certificate, my social security card, medical records, anything I'd need to start a life somewhere far, far away. My mom kept all of it in a beige filing cabinet in her bedroom. For months, whenever she asked me to reorganize it, something I'd done since I was little, I'd take photos of every document. Then, slowly, without suspicion, I took the originals. One sheet at a time, over 6 months. Never enough missing at once for her to notice. And she never did. By then, my determination had become a quiet force inside me. Steady, solid, almost frightening in its clarity. I didn't want revenge. I didn't want some dramatic showdown. I just wanted out. College became the obvious answer, my cleanest exit. Not a nearby school, not a state school, not a maybe I'll visit home for holidays school. No, I needed distance measured in thousands of miles. I spent hours in the library researching universities with strong financial aid programs for low-income students, especially first-generation applicants. I found 3, each on the opposite coast, so far that no one could possibly drop by. As I added them to my list, one thought repeated in my chest like a heartbeat. If she wants to be free of me at 18, fine. I'll leave before she ever has to say it again. The conflict wasn't loud yet, but it was growing, and soon it was going to break open. Thanksgiving was the spark, but the explosion, the moment everything truly set into motion, unfolded slowly, quietly, with a precision I didn't know a 16-year-old girl could possess. The night after hearing my mother say I ruined her life, I lay awake staring at the dim ceiling of my bedroom. My younger sister's laughter drifted through the vents. The dishwasher hummed downstairs. My stepdad's low footsteps creaked across the hallway as he closed doors for the night. Everything looked the same, but nothing was the same. The plan formed itself like a whispered promise. 2 years. Then I'm gone. No scenes, no fights, no explanations. Just distance. A clean, silent cut. But to make that happen, I needed 3 things: money, college acceptance, and documents, all without attracting suspicion. And the first opportunity came faster than expected. My part-time grocery store job paid minimum wage. Decent, but not enough. So I doubled my hours, offering to take late-night shifts, early shifts, holiday shifts. Shifts that made other teens groan when the manager announced them. Teachers began asking, "Are you sure you're managing your workload?" I always smiled. I'm fine. Because I was, not emotionally, not really, but my determination was iron. Every dollar mattered. Every hour meant freedom. I babysat for neighbors, tutored freshmen struggling in algebra, mowed lawns in the summer, shoveled driveways in the winter until my hands blistered and cracked. And every cent that wasn't an absolute necessity went into the bank account my mother didn't know existed. When the teller asked, "Any guardians to add to the account?" I said, "No, just me." And for the first time in my life, it felt like something belonged entirely to me. Studying became my escape tunnel. My grades, which were already good, became flawless. Straight A's, extra credit, advanced classes. Guidance counselors praised my work ethic, not knowing it came from survival, not ambition. While my classmates daydreamed about senior prom, I researched colleges 3,000 miles away, places with generous financial aid for kids like me. Kids who wanted a life, not an obligation. I wrote essays until my fingers cramped. Talk about adversity, the prompts said. I wrote about fatherlessness, about resilience, about growth. I did not write about my mother. Not once. February of my senior year, I received the acceptance email during lunch. A full ride to one of the schools across the country. I locked myself in a bathroom stall and cried, silent, shaking sobs I didn't know I still had in me. Not because I was sad. Because for the first time, I saw a door leading away, a door she couldn't close. This part scared me the most. My mother kept all important paperwork in her bedroom filing cabinet, a beige metal thing she always meant to reorganize, but never did. Convenient for her, and perfect for me. For 6 months, whenever she asked me to clean that mess up, I did. And each time, I took one document. Birth certificate, social security card, immunization records, school forms. A slow collection, a quiet heist. By the time summer arrived, I had everything I needed tucked into a folder hidden under my bed. She never noticed a thing. August arrived, 2 years after the Thanksgiving that shattered me. I had one suitcase, one backpack, and a bus ticket I bought myself. I'd already secured early housing through a summer job near campus. Everything was arranged without my mom's involvement. She was supposed to drive me to the bus station. But that morning, she came downstairs with keys in one hand, irritation in her eyes. "Your sister has a dentist appointment I forgot about. Can you just get an Uber or something?" She said it like she was asking me to grab milk from the store. Like this wasn't the day her daughter was leaving home for the first and last time. I nodded. Sure, no problem. I'd already arranged a ride with a friend anyway. She didn't hug me, didn't walk me to the door, didn't look up from the eggs she was scrambling for my sister. "Text me when you get there, I guess." "I will." I walked outside, closed the front door behind me, and felt the air shift, like stepping from a tight, suffocating room into open space. I knew in my bones I was never coming back. Not for Thanksgiving, not for Christmas, not for anything. On the bus, 12 hours away from the only home I'd ever known, I watched the trees blur past the window. With every mile, my chest loosened. I thought leaving might feel tragic, but instead, it felt like breathing. Finally breathing. College was supposed to feel terrifying. New city, new people, no safety net. But for me, those first weeks felt like the first deep breath after years of breathing through a straw. For the first time in my life, no one barged into my room asking me to watch younger siblings. No one snapped at me for having an attitude just because I existed in the same space. No one forgot my birthday because they were too busy reshaping their perfect little family. Quiet felt like healing, not punishment. I got a job at the campus coffee shop. Early mornings steaming milk, afternoons wiping down counters while students talked about midterms and heartbreaks. My coworkers laughed easily. My manager asked how my classes were going. Customers said thank you without sounding annoyed. It was strange being treated like a person. I made friends, real ones, people who liked me without needing anything from me, people who didn't flinch when I walked into a room or talk around me instead of to me. My roommate invited me to movie nights. Girls in my study group asked if I wanted to join their weekend plans. They didn't know anything about my family, and I didn't offer. Low contact with my mom was easy at first, almost too easy. She texted 4 times in 3 months. 1. Did you get there safe? Yes. 2. Your sister says hi. Hi back. 3. Thanksgiving is on the 23rd this year. I can't make it. Work schedule. I thought that would be the end of it, but message 4 arrived with a different tone. What do you mean you can't make it? That was the moment the old dynamic tried to pull me back in. I explained, politely, calmly, that I had picked up extra shifts, flights were expensive, and I'd already committed to covering coworkers who were traveling. All of it true, all of it logical. Her response came fast, sharp. This is really selfish. Family is supposed to be together for the holidays. My fingers hovered over my phone. I took a breath and didn't respond. The phone rang. I let it go to voicemail. When I finally listened, I sat on the floor of my dorm room as her 15-minute monologue spilled out. Disappointment, guilt-tripping, mentions of how my siblings were asking why I abandoned them, how she did everything for me, and now I was punishing the family for nothing. I texted back a single line. I'm not punishing anyone. I just have responsibilities here now. And then silence, for a few days at least, because apparently she didn't keep the situation to herself. My aunt, the same one from Thanksgiving, texted me out of nowhere. Your mom is hurting. She doesn't understand why you're so distant. Maybe you should call her. I stared at the message. My hands didn't shake. My heartbeat didn't spike. Something inside me just clicked. I typed. Did she tell you what she said about me that Thanksgiving 2 years ago? 3 days passed. No reply. Then finally, what do you mean? I didn't explain. I didn't paint the picture of myself standing on the basement stairs gripping napkins while my mother explained how my existence ruined her life. I just wrote, ask her. After that, total radio silence. Not from my life, though, because that year, for the first time, I had a real Thanksgiving. My roommate's family lived 2 hours away. When they learned I wasn't going home, they insisted I join them. Their house was warm, cluttered, noisy, in a loving way. His mom hugged me like we'd met 100 times before. His dad told awful dad jokes that everyone groaned at but secretly loved. His sister asked me about my major and actually listened to the answer. No one looked past me. No one spoke through me. No one acted like my presence shifted the balance of the room. I wasn't a burden. I wasn't baggage. I was just there, wanted, included. When I lay in the guest bedroom that night, full from a meal I didn't have to cook and laughter that didn't feel forced, something settled inside me. Maybe family didn't have to mean pain. Maybe it could be chosen, gentle, simple, safe. But my mother wasn't done with me, not even close. What I didn't know yet was that my refusal to return for Thanksgiving had only planted the first crack. And soon the whole facade, hers, mine, the entire family's, was going to start breaking apart. Winter break came and went without drama, at least without the kind that reached my phone. I worked extra hours at the campus coffee shop, enjoying the quiet emptiness of a half-deserted campus. Snow gathered in soft drifts against the dorm buildings, muffling the world into something peaceful. I would walk to work under pale streetlights, breath fogging the air, fingers numb inside my cheap gloves, and feel strangely comforted. Every day was mine. Every hour belonged to me. No one asked me for favors. No one glared at me for existing. My mother sent a Christmas card with a check for $50 inside. No message, no "love, Mom," just her name printed at the bottom in that sharp, tight handwriting of hers. I deposited the check, and I didn't send anything back. Maybe that was petty, but I figured she didn't want anything from me cluttering up her home anyway. She'd made that clear enough. It happened in March. My phone rang early in the morning, too early. I was half asleep, eyes blurry, and I answered before checking the caller ID. Big mistake. My mother's voice cracked through the speaker. You're coming home for spring break. Not a question, a command. I sat up. No, I'm not. I have work. You've been gone almost a year. This is ridiculous. Your siblings barely remember what you look like. That one stung, not because of her, but because of them. But I steadied my voice. I can video call them if they want. That is not the same, and you know it. Her breath hissed through the phone. What is going on with you? Did something happen? A part of me wanted to laugh, really laugh. Because yes, of course something happened. But she didn't want the truth. She wanted a version of me that made sense in her story. Nothing happened, I said. I'm just busy. There was a pause. Then, Your aunt said you mentioned something about Thanksgiving from years ago. What were you talking about? So she did ask. She actually went to my aunt, but apparently didn't tell her the truth. I don't want to get into it. Get into what? Her voice sharpened. You're being dramatic. If you're upset about something, just tell me so we can move past it. That was the breaking point. Not her yelling, not her guilt tripping, not even the entitlement. It was the way she said move past it, like she could pave over the truth with a single sentence. And right there, half awake, hair tangled, blanket around my shoulders, I made a decision. I wasn't going to let her rewrite this anymore. So I told her. I was on the basement stairs that Thanksgiving. I heard every word you said. You told Aunt that having me ruined your life, that you couldn't wait until I turned 18 so you could be free. Silence. Cold, sharp, heavy silence. Finally, she stammered, That's not, you misheard. I didn't mishear. I was venting. It was taken out of context. I was 16. I'd spent the whole day helping you, and you said I ruined your life. I didn't mean it like that. Then how did you mean it? My voice didn't shake. Hers did. She inhaled shakily. I could hear the beginning of tears. Loud, performative, familiar. You're really going to throw away our entire relationship over one comment I made when I was stressed? I'm not throwing anything away, I said quietly. I'm choosing to spend my time with people who actually want me around. Her crying escalated. How can you be so cruel? I raised you by myself for 6 years. I sacrificed everything. And apparently resented me for all of it. I didn't. That's not fair. I need to go, I said. I have a shift. I didn't, but the conversation was over. I hung up. Within an hour, texts started flooding in. From my stepdad, you need to apologize to your mother. She's devastated. We didn't know you heard that. Family forgives. Call her. From my grandmother, a woman I'd seen maybe 5 times in my life. Your mother is beside herself. Fix this. From my aunt, your mom is crying. She didn't mean it. Don't take things so literally. Not one of them said she was wrong. Not one said, that should never have been said. Not one said, I'm sorry. Just forgive, forget, make it easy for her. I replied to all 3 with variations of, I'm not interested in discussing this further. My grandmother's number? Blocked. My aunt? Muted. My stepdad? Ignored. But my mother wasn't done. Over the next few weeks, she used every tactic. 1, guilt. Daily messages. I can't sleep. I can't eat. Your siblings are crying. You're tearing the family apart. I didn't respond. 2, revisionist history. A long email explaining how she never said those exact words, and I must have misunderstood. Then a list of sacrifices, letting you live in my house, driving you to school sometimes. Sacrifices. 3, flying monkeys. Family friends I barely knew messaged me. Your mom is such a sweet woman. You're overreacting. Blood is blood. I replied with a single thumbs up emoji. 4, the dirtiest trick. One evening, my phone buzzed with a video call from an unfamiliar number. My half-sister, 10 years old, crying. Why don't you love us anymore? Mom said you hate us, and you're never coming back. My stomach dropped. She had weaponized a child. I swallowed hard. Hey, I love you. I could never hate you. Mom says you're being mean. Adults have complicated stuff going on. It's not your fault. It's not about you. Will you come visit? I wanted to say yes. God, I wanted to. I'll try, I whispered. Even if I can't visit soon, I still care about you. She nodded, wiping her tears. When the call ended, I shook with a rage I had never felt before. I texted my mother. Using the kids is disgusting. Don't do it again. Her reply came instantly. I didn't make her call you. She misses her sister. That's your fault. Always my fault. Always. And the escalation wasn't even close to over. The breaking point was still waiting ahead. Quiet, inevitable, and devastating. The weeks after my sister's manipulated phone call were the darkest I'd felt since the night on the basement stairs, not because I doubted my decision, but because I realized just how far my mother was willing to go to pull me back into the role she'd assigned me, whether I wanted it or not. And what hurt most wasn't the anger, it was the clarity. She didn't miss me. She missed what I did for her. The help, the silence, the compliance. But there was no going back. Still, darkness doesn't always come crashing down. Sometimes it settles quietly, slowly, like a shadow stretching across a floor until you realize everything around you feels dimmer. 2 years had passed since I left home. I was close to finishing my sophomore year. My life, my real life, was finally taking shape. Classes were going well. My scholarship was secure. I'd even landed a paid summer internship, something people in my program talked about like it was gold. But the family pressure hadn't disappeared. My aunt would occasionally text updates I hadn't asked for. Your mom isn't doing well. She cries a lot. She misses you. I never replied, but the messages were enough to reopen old wounds in small, sharp ways. Then came the news that struck differently. My grandmother, my mother's mom, was sick. Cancer. The prognosis wasn't good. My aunt reached out, voice softer than usual when she said, "She's asking about you." Here's the thing. I barely knew my grandmother. 5 visits in my entire life. No real relationship. No memories that meant anything. But she hadn't harmed me either. So I sent flowers. A simple thinking of you card. Not love, not devotion, just human respect. It should have been enough. My mother called for the first time in almost a year. I stared at her name on the screen for a long time before answering. Her voice came out sharp. "Your grandmother is dying, and you sent flowers? You can't even come see her?" "I have finals," I said evenly. "Finals?" she snapped. "Finals? Your grandmother is on her deathbed." "I'm sorry she's sick. Truly. But she barely spoke to me my whole childhood. She sent birthday cards with the wrong age on them. I don't know what you expect from me." "Because she's family!" There it was. The magic word. The shield everyone in my family used to excuse everything. I took a slow breath. Family means different things to different people. "Excuse me?" "To you, being family meant telling your sister that I was your biggest regret. Forgive me if I don't share that definition." Silence, cold and jagged. Then she hung up. No goodbye, no attempt at an apology, just the slam of disconnection. My grandmother passed 3 weeks later. Relatives I'd never met texted me. Heartless. Cruel. She wanted to see you. You broke your mother's heart. One even wrote, "You should be ashamed." I blocked them all. Shame belonged to the people who earned it. I hadn't. I didn't go to the funeral. And for a moment, just a moment, I wondered if I was becoming the cold, unfeeling daughter my mother painted me as. But then I remembered. I didn't make myself her mistake. I didn't call myself baggage. I didn't weaponize a child. I didn't erase a daughter from photographs. Just because they chose to break me didn't mean I had to choose to bleed for them forever. Then came the letter that shattered the last illusion I had about my mother. A physical envelope from a law office. My grandmother had a will, and she had left me something. Not a fortune, but enough to matter. 15,000. I stared at the page, disbelief pulsing through me. Someone in that family, someone who barely knew me, had chosen to leave something behind for me. But the shock wasn't the money. It was the next part. Family members were contesting the will, arguing I abandoned the family and didn't deserve anything. And the lawyer added, "Your mother has been the most vocal about the contestation." My mother, the woman who said having me ruined her life, the woman who resented raising me, the woman who wanted to be free. She was now trying to take the one thing someone else had freely chosen to give me, not because she needed it, but because she couldn't stand me having anything that didn't pass through her hands first. That was the moment the darkness stopped feeling heavy and started feeling clarifying. If I had ever doubted the rightness of leaving, this erased every doubt. You cannot heal in the same place that taught you bleeding is normal. And now the truth was undeniable. My mother wasn't just unwilling to be a mother. She was threatened by my survival without her. The darkest moment wasn't losing my grandmother. It was realizing I had never truly had a mother. Not in the way that mattered. The darkness clarified everything. But the turning point, the moment I fully stepped out of the story my mother kept trying to trap me in, came after the will contestation dragged on. 3 months of filings. 3 months of whispered updates from the lawyer. 3 months of texts from my mother that grew more venomous with each message. If you had any decency, you'd give that money to the family. Grandma wasn't in her right mind. You know that. You're stealing from me. Stealing. From her. Money she never earned. Money she didn't even know about until the will surfaced. The audacity was breathtaking. I ignored her, but the messages kept coming. Each one revealed more about her than she realized. She didn't see me as a daughter. She saw me as an obstacle, a resource, a responsibility she wanted to cash out of. And then, without warning, she escalated. It was a Wednesday afternoon. I'd just gotten out of class, backpack slung over one shoulder, mentally counting the hours until my shift at work. My phone buzzed. A text from my roommate. Dude, there's some woman at the door saying she's your mom. She seems intense. My heart dropped. She drove 3,000 miles just to confront me. Part of me wanted to run, to turn around, walk straight to the library, hide until nightfall. But the other part, the part that had spent years being silent, obedient, invisible, had grown stronger since leaving home. That part whispered, enough. So I walked back to the apartment building. Each step felt heavier, but steadier. She was standing in the hallway, arms crossed, face tight, eyes scanning every angle like she was preparing a case in her head before she even spoke. She looked older than I remembered, more tired, more worn down by consequences she insisted were never her fault. "You've been avoiding me," she said. "Yeah," I replied simply. "I have. We need to talk in person like adults." "Fine, talk." She motioned toward my apartment door. "Can we go inside?" "No." Her jaw tightened. "You're really going to make me do this in a hallway?" "I'm not making you do anything. You showed up uninvited. A hallway is fine for me." Her lips pressed together. She inhaled sharply. For one fleeting second, I wondered, would she finally apologize? Would she finally acknowledge what she'd done? Then she spoke. "I don't understand where all this anger is coming from." And just like that, any hope evaporated. She continued, "I did my best. I had you at 18. I had no support, no money, no help. And yes, maybe I said some things I shouldn't have, but I was venting. Everyone vents. You told your sister I was the biggest mistake of your life." I was stressed. "You said you were counting down the years until you were free of me." "That's not, you're twisting my words." I'm repeating them verbatim. She blinked rapidly, her breathing uneven. Real tears this time, or at least something closer to genuine emotion than the theatrics she used on my stepdad. "I'm your mother. Doesn't that mean anything to you?" "It used to," I said. "It used to mean everything to me, until Thanksgiving." "So that's it? One bad moment and I'm dead to you?" It wasn't one bad moment. That moment just confirmed everything I'd felt my entire life, that I was an inconvenience, a burden you tolerated until you didn't have to anymore. "That's not true. You forgot my 17th birthday." Her face froze. "What?" "You went to my sister's recital instead. Said we'd celebrate later. We never did." "That's not—" "You stopped putting me in family photos after my brother was born. There were 3 pictures of me in the last 5 years, 37 of them without me." She opened her mouth, closed it, tried again. Nothing came out. Finally, she whispered, "I miss you. You miss having someone to help around the house, someone to watch the kids, someone who doesn't ask for anything. You don't miss me." Her eyes flashed. "That's not fair." "Maybe not, but it's honest." A long silence settled between us. She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. "So what happens now?" "Now." The word felt final, heavy. "Now," I said slowly, "you go home, and we continue living separate lives." She swallowed. "And holidays, birthdays, when you get married someday, am I invited?" "I don't know," I said truthfully. "Maybe things will change someday, but right now, no. I need distance, and honestly, I think you do too." She stared at me, something unreadable flickering across her face. Then she turned and walked away. No hug, no apology, no last attempt. Just footsteps fading down the hall. I went back into my apartment. My roommate stood in the doorway, wide-eyed. "You okay?" I exhaled, slow, steady. "Yeah," I said. "I think I actually am." And for the first time, I meant it. 6 months passed after that hallway confrontation. 6 months without a single call, text, or guilt-drenched message from my mother. It was strange how silence, once something that used to suffocate me in that old house, now felt like oxygen. I didn't expect the fallout to hit anyone but me. I'd spent my entire life believing that if something went wrong, I must have been the root of it. The burden, the baggage, the mistake. But distance has a way of revealing what was always there beneath the surface. And the surface of my mother's carefully curated life began to crack. My aunt, ever the unwilling messenger, sent occasional updates I never asked for. One day she texted, "Your mom isn't doing well." I didn't respond. A week later, "Your stepdad filed for divorce." That made me pause. According to my aunt, he'd been unhappy for years. My mother's emotional instability, his words, she emphasized, was the final straw. My departure, the drama around the will, the manipulation tactics turning more erratic over time, it all added pressure until the man who barely looked me in the eye decided he couldn't look at her anymore either. My half-siblings were now living with him most of the time. My stomach twisted, not out of sympathy for my mother, but for the kids. They didn't choose any of this. They didn't ask for a mother who weaponized them or a father who ignored warning signs for years. I texted my aunt back one line, "Are the kids okay?" She replied, "Your sister asks about you more now." My chest tightened, something warm and painful. Maybe we were both learning what distance could heal. My sister was now 12, old enough to start asking different questions. Not the manipulated ones my mother whispered into her ear, but real ones. She texted me one night, "Can you help me with my English homework?" I nearly cried. Not because of the request, but because it was normal, so regular. A question a little sister might ask a big sister if their relationship hadn't been poisoned. We started texting more often. Small things, safe things. I told her about college. She told me about her favorite band. I sent her a photo of the coffee shop where I worked. She sent me a picture of a bracelet she made at school. One day she asked, "Can I come see your campus someday?" I smiled. "Yeah, whenever you want." My brother was still too young to understand any of this. My aunt said he sometimes asked where I'd gone. I figured someday I'd explain, but not now. Not while their lives were already shaking apart. I wasn't going to repeat our mother's mistakes. I wouldn't drag them into adult battles they never signed up for. Just when I thought the fallout had reached its natural end, my aunt sent one more update that froze me mid-text. "Your mom keeps saying none of this is her fault." Of course she did. When her marriage fell apart, it wasn't because of her behavior. When her daughter left, it wasn't because of her cruelty. When her own mother's will bypassed her, it wasn't because of their relationship. When her children preferred living with their father, it wasn't because of her instability. In her mind, I was the catalyst for all of it. I ruined everything, just like she'd told my aunt years ago. Only now the world around her was confirming what I had always known. She was the one who lit the match. I just finally stopped standing still long enough to catch fire. As for me, I was getting ready for midterms, still on a full scholarship, still working part-time, still building a life that didn't revolve around navigating someone else's emotional storms. I'd started going to a therapist on campus, someone who didn't flinch when I talked about things other people minimized. She told me something once that stuck with me. "You're not healing from a single wound. You're healing from a childhood full of small cuts." It was the first time someone put words to what I felt. I wasn't dramatic, I wasn't cruel, I wasn't abandoning anyone. I was surviving something I didn't even have the language for until I left it. Sometimes at night, when the dorm was quiet and the only sound was someone down the hall watching late-night TV, I wondered, could I have fixed things? Was I too harsh? Did I leave too quickly? But every time those questions surface, another memory answered them. Me at 16, holding a stack of Thanksgiving napkins, hearing my mother say I ruined everything. And each time the answer was the same. No, I made the right choice. Leaving wasn't revenge. Leaving was freedom. The fallout wasn't destruction, it was clarity. Everyone's lives changed because truth finally had space to breathe. And mine changed most of all. Life didn't magically transform after everything fell apart. There was no cinematic sunrise, no triumphant soundtrack. Healing rarely looks like that. It looked like quiet mornings in my dorm, sunlight warming the blankets, like studying in the library and realizing my chest didn't feel tight anymore, like laughing with friends and not waiting for the moment someone would turn cold or disappointed. It looked like breathing without bracing for impact. The last update came from my aunt a few months after the divorce. "Your mom isn't doing well," she said. I didn't respond. Not out of cruelty, out of closure. I'd spent years twisting myself into shapes small enough to fit inside the version of daughter my mother wanted. Silent, helpful, invisible. Leaving didn't just save me from her, it saved me from that version of myself. And slowly, the life I built began to feel like one I deserved. My little sister still texts me. My brother will understand someday. My stepdad, surprisingly, has softened. Maybe because losing the facade forced him to confront the truth too. Sometimes late at night, doubt tries to creep in. Could I have fixed things? Should I have forgiven more easily? But then the memory returns. 16 years old, on the basement stairs, napkins in hand, hearing my mother say she couldn't wait to be free of me. And just like that, the doubt dissolves. Some people say blood is thicker than water, but the full saying is, the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb. The bonds you choose are stronger than the ones you're born into. I chose myself. I chose peace. I chose a life where I was wanted, not tolerated. And that choice didn't destroy me. It rebuilt me. Consequences aren't revenge. They're simply what happens when truth is no longer hidden. My mother chose her story. I chose mine. And now I'm going to go study for midterms. Life goes on.